This has got to stop, as we've been receiving more and more Brad Marchand trade rumors, and they are getting more and more ridiculous as time goes on. I'm going to be breaking down these reports, what these reports are saying, and why none of this is going to happen here in this video. Now, before we get into all of the news that we have here today, be sure to hit the sub button. We know that 70% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel, and if you're looking for a spot to get all of your Boston Bruins news, you're in the right spot. Hit the sub button. Join me here on the channel. We're covering everything Boston Bruins, but as I mentioned, these reports are just getting out of hand. It really is, and we've seen a lot of trade reports on the Boston Bruins this year from nearly every source, but there's been one player in Brad Marchand that we've been seeing a bit too much of, and it's getting out of hand at this point. It really, really is, and although I'm a big advocate for trades, trying to revamp this team and make it any way possible to get better, Brad Marchand being moved is not the option. I'm going to pull up our latest report here and really break down why we're seeing this, what this is coming out of, and where it's going to go. And first of all, here's what we have. In order to trade for work, it would have to work for both ways for Sweeney, as he'd have to find a team willing to take him. However, that shouldn't be an issue, as Marchand is valued forward who plays a two-way game and an agitator on the ice. He'd have to go somewhere where he'd want before the Bruins can assess what they can get for him. Now, this report just comes from one I've seen on Twitter, but it's a trend. It's one trend that I've seen that every single possible article has been saying the same thing. Oh, Don Sweeney can do this. Don Sweeney should do this. Now, this is not going to happen for Brad Marchand for a couple reasons. First of all, he is your captain. He is, we don't see many captains nowadays get traded, especially ones where they've been in the franchise for so long. He's such an important piece of the team, and the Tampa Bay Lightning has probably been the most recent of the bunch trading Steven Stamkos, and we saw the reaction that would get. And second of all, the Boston Bruins need Brad Marchand. If they're trying to make this season better under Joe Sacco and really trying to make this season a success and get to the playoffs where everybody thought they would be at this point, Brad Marchand will be an integral piece to this. He's been heating up as of late, and he's been very, very good in the past, 10 games, I'm going to say, since the beginning of Joe Sacco's tenure as head coach of the Boston Bruins. That's when we've been able to see the confidence in Brad Marchand increase and really just his play style change completely to be the Brad Marchand that we all know and love. But looking at this as well, here's the idea that this article had for a trade with the Colorado Avalanche for this team in specific, in this just example, I guess. Landing Marchand could cost the Avalanche a promising young forward such as Callum Ritchie or Ivan, or a prospect like defense Mikhail Gulyayev. The Bruins could seek their 2026 first-rounder in the deal or one of their second-rounders. While we're still in the dark as Marchand's negotiations remain private, and they will be, we know that Brad Marchand is not a fan of revealing any contract information. Is there a chance that Marchand could end up in Colorado or another contender? Would you want to see the captain moved? And, I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to say no. I'm sure probably all of you guys are going to say no. I think the only way that this happens, or any of these reports actually come to fruition, is if the Bruins go into full rebuild mode and lose so many games before the trade deadline. But we've seen this team be very up and very down the past few games, and, going to see what we've seen the past few weeks under Joe Sacco, we haven't really seen the consistency yet, but we've seen the potential that this team can bring to the season, and further up to the trade deadline. So this team right now is in zero position to trade a Brad Marchand or really trade away anybody unless they're getting a bigger player. And this trade right here, a second rounder or a first rounder for even Callum Ritchie, Ivan, Mikhail Gulyayev, whoever it may be, simply is not it. And, it's not even really in the realm of what Brad Marchand means to the team or what would be in return for how much Brad Marchand means to the team. And even though he is on the final year of his deal, he's going to be 36 or 37 years old, whatever the exact amount is, 36 going on 37 when this contract expires. $6.12 million cap hit, he's not going anywhere. Really, nobody's going to want to take this contract on. The Bruins would retain some if a trade were to happen, but it isn't. It really, really is not going to happen. We're going to see Brad Marchand stick this contract out, re-sign with the Bruins as long as he doesn't retire, and we really see no signs of Brad Marchand retiring anytime soon. At 36 years old, he's still one of the most dominant players at that age, and still up there with, I'm not going to mention guys like Crosby, but at that level, he's keeping up pace with those superstar older guys that we've been seeing in the early 2000s, and Brad Marchand is going to be a Bruin. There's no way he's not retiring as a Bruin. There's no way that he wants to go anywhere else. He's remained positive with this team the entire season. He's remained vocal, remained poised this entire season, even through all the ups and downs. He's guided this team through the horrible start that they had and has guided them into the new Joe Sacco era. And realistically, if the Bruins were to trade him, the amount of disrespect that would go towards Brad Marchand would be absolutely ridiculous and just completely uncalled for him. And looking at his stats as well, we know that, there we go. Brad Marchand's stats, 32 games, 24 points. Starting off as slow as he did, this is a very good sign that we're seeing this amount of pickup going forward and really going to the point that we're at in this season. We're seeing this now, the Brad Marchand that, as I mentioned, we've all been waiting for this season. The Brad Marchand that we've known to be a Boston Bruin and to guide the Boston Bruins, younger players and current players, into a spot where they want to be. And looking at the recent games from him and the team themselves, we've been able to see more of a chemistry revolved around this team. We've been able to see more of how this team really has the glue between everybody, and Brad Marchand is the center of that. So trading Brad Marchand would just result in a total team collapse, regardless of if they go on a win streak, regardless of who they add. It's just not the move for the Bruins to make. And I know that was a bit of a ramble, a bit of a diss, I guess, to the Boston Bruins if something like this were to occur, and anybody who's really even considering it, it just isn't the answer right now. And I do have these two screenshots here of two trade candidates the Boston Bruins have on the TSN big board from Chris Johnson. At 30, the bottom of the list was Brad Marchand. This is what they say. With things seeming to be normalized in Boston since Joe Sacco replaced Jim Montgomery behind the Bruins bench in November, Marchand is now clearly nearly off the big board entirely. The Boston captain is playing the final year of his contract, and it's difficult to imagine a team looking to move him if it remains on the playoff trajectory. Marchand has a slow start to the season following a summer when he underwent multiple surgeries, 3 to be exact, but he remains a high-end winger who can contribute offensively, kill penalties, and yes, get under an opponent's skin. And you see the net rating, but as this article mentions here, or this little excerpt from Chris Johnson from TSN, he ain't going nowhere. The Joe Sacco era has been a very positive aspect so far. I don't want to say success just yet, but we've really been able to see how this team has changed, in a heartbeat over this, and really see how this team has kind of guided this into what a season would have looked like if it had started off this way. And, that's not Jim Montgomery's fault. I don't want to think it is Jim Montgomery's fault. I think it's just the team started off slow. Jim Montgomery was the change that was made, and it worked out. Just, I don't know, a different voice, something along the lines of that seemed to click in the Bruins locker room. Whether or not that was Brad Marchand that clicked, that made this team click, is yet to be seen, but it sure seems like it, especially over the past few games, what we've seen from him, and especially over this Western road trip. Although we haven't seen the biggest, successes from this game, we've been able to see some comebacks, we've been able to see some big games from this Bruins team, and Brad Marchand really is at the center of this. So let me know what you think about this. Do you think that these results and the reports from Brad Marchand are getting ridiculous, or do you want to see him traded? Let me know, and if you do, let me know why. I'm very curious to see why that would be the case. But that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well, and let me know in the comments below. Is this mic all right? I got a new mic. I want to know if the volume is okay, if you guys find the audio fine, because I can make a few changes, but just wanted to check in on this right now. But like I said, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.